where I've been around people who have experimented with psychedelic drugs, and they say that they experience something similar. Would you say that they are experiencing, they call it ego death?
I would say that, okay, so this is the thing with sadhana and spiritual drugs. This is very good. That's a very good question. What do I believe?
Yeah, I was just so you know, I have a YouTube channel where I talk to people in a friendly way just about what they believe and why. And I was wondering if you'd be interested in having a conversation about something that you believe in just for like 5 minutes. Absolutely,
but I have a lot of anxiety, so I might shake halfway through.
Oh, that's okay. Honestly, man, I'll be real with you. I'm really nervous as well. This is quite confrontational for me as well, especially because most people reject me. I am drinking a little bit of scotch to calm my nerves. So, you know, it's all good. So we could just have a polite conversation, and if it ends up being entertaining and interesting for both of us, then might upload it to my YouTube channel and I'll send you the link and yeah, cool. If you don't like it all if you don't like it by the end, I obviously won't upload it. So
yeah, no, it's up to you, bro.
Do you have any beliefs? So what I normally do in this is I talk to people about their beliefs, and we just usually choose one claim. So that could be, I believe in God, or I believe that the Democratic Party is the best party, or I believe that in ghosts, or I believe it could be anything. Something. It's usually best if it's something that you have a deep conviction about, and then I just ask you questions about why you believe that, and we kind of try and I try and go through your questions and try and understand why you believe that. It's non-confrontational. I'm not going to start screaming at you or anything. So, yeah.
No, I do this a lot. I have a lot of debates on this kind of stuff.
Cool.
I would say that I'm a pantheist. I have a pretty weird view. Okay. I run a lot of paradigms. I'm into a lot of esoteric stuff.
Okay. Do you have any like one claim that we could investigate? So, if you're a pantheist, I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does that mean you believe that? What does pantheism mean? Maybe you can just describe it for me.
So pantheism, to me specifically, I'm into like I've recently been reading into Kashmir Shaivism, and so essentially, from what I understand the beliefs, so excuse my ignorance, it's like everything is an aspect of God, and so like it's not necessarily. I'm not a deist. You know what a deist is?
I think is so. Just correct me if I'm wrong, but deism is essentially that like God created everything, got everything rolling, but he's not a personal God. He's not really.
Yeah, Spinoza's God. Exactly.
It's kind of like what Albert Einstein said when he said God does not play dice with him.
Spinoza's God. Exactly. Yeah, cool. That's exactly what that is. When Einstein is Spinoza's God. Exactly. So, cool. So with pantheism, what I would call it, how at least I view pantheism, is like the universe is. So the universe in this case, in my scenario, would probably be an infinite universe that constantly goes through a rate of expansion and de-expansion or contraction. So the universe essentially does this. They have multiple big bangs over infinity. So it constantly does this and then this and this and this. And we just happen to end up within the molecular formula of, you know, being able to have this conversation right now. You know what I mean? It has, think of like, for example, you know, like the analogy where the monkey who writes infinitely will eventually write Shakespeare.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're in the part of the monkey writing. What's your name?
Dave. Sorry. What's your name?
No, like that. So yeah,
very unique name. I like that. Well, it is where I come from. I'm in Australia, so.
So like, what was I saying? Oh, so yeah, we are in the part where the monkey is writing the conversation between Dave and Nachi.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so my worldview is that everybody is God. Everybody is divine because everybody just is. Everything has universal consciousness. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So consciousness, and this is probably where the controversy and probably where you're going to disagree, because usually people get off the boat when I start saying that everything is aware. So like
no, I think let me just hang on a sec. It's going to take me a while. Rupert Spira. Have you heard of Rupert Spira?
No.
Okay, so don't worry. I have had a lot of conversations with a friend of mine. He put me onto a book, and essentially he has a consciousness first model, which is like yeah. So what you're saying sounds like you're about to go down that route. That like material world doesn't exist. Consciousness is only. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I'm kind of familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I like to explain, because I think Deepak Chopra, even though he's kind of, but I think Deepak Chopra holds the same belief system. So I think a lot of people.
He folded the book,
like,
actually.
Exactly. So, but because he takes from Kashmir Shaivism, that's our belief system, but he does it in a way.
Could you type that out for me, please?
Kashmir Shaivism.
Okay.
It's a sect of Hinduism.
Ah, okay, interesting.
With schools, independent schools, a part of.
I've read a little bit I've read the Bhagavad Gita, and and just to give you some background on myself, I read the Bhagavad Gita. I come from a Christian background. I'm not religious anymore though, and I was a youth pastor. And when I read the Bhagavad Gita, I was blown away. It was amazing.
Yeah. You were a youth pastor?
Yeah, at one stage. Yeah.
That's sick, dude. I was actually I'm 18, and so when I was 16, I actually sang for my church, and I was a minister. And I used to minister. Yeah. So it was a non-denominational church, and I used to do the whole thing, like give sermons and stuff like that, like very small parts of sermons and stuff.
So were you a Christian and now you're a Hindu? Or would you like to just say that you're not either and you're just kind of...
I run like 40 different paradigms at once because of like the esoteric traditions that I follow. Okay. And so like I would say from ages 0 to, I was born an atheist up until the age of like 16, when I had my little experience of Jesus, you know what I mean? And like, I was scared of death. So I thought Jesus was going to save me. Right. And then I was like, for the time that I was, into Christianity, I was like kind of questioning it, but still did my best to follow the scripture, et cetera, et cetera. And then COVID hit, and then I realized I started getting into Hitchens, and I started getting into all this other shit, and I started to get into different religions and understanding different religions, and then it just kind of spiraled into like when I was 17, I just went straight into a bunch of other shit. So yeah, and right now I'm just doing research on Hinduism, and I just find that I resonate with the belief system. So
can just to keep this relatively concise,
concise.
Not to take up too much of your time. Do you have a claim to investigate from that? So like maybe it's a claim like something that we can kind of investigate, that like something like material world doesn't exist, or that everything is part of a monkey on a typewriter, or that there is a god or something like that. Is there like a claim?
I would say that a theological God is irrational. Okay. Very irrational. Especially the Christian God is irrational. I would say that a lot of the stuff there is pretty contradictory. I would say that.
Do you have a claim around pantheism?
Around pantheism.
Like pantheism is true, or?
That's the thing, is Buddhists, we don't. I'm sorry to take up so much of your time, but as Buddhists, like that's not our thing. Is our job is to get you to nirvana. When I read upon Buddhist scripture, like we don't care about cosmology so much. Our job is to get you to liberation. So I guess I have a fundamental belief that we can all get to liberation through a series of exercises and getting rid of stuff. Yeah. That's probably what my belief system is.
Oh, awesome. All right. So can we investigate that claim that we, that the claim is we can all arrive at liberation?
Yeah, we can all be enlightened.
We can all be.
We're all divine. We're all enlightened.
Okay, cool. That's super interesting. What is your confidence level for that claim? We can all be enlightened from 0 to 100.
I would say probably, because you would just, the way I define enlightenment. Yeah, I'd probably say 100%.
100%? Okay, cool.
Probably 90, 95. Yeah, around there, 90 to 100, yeah.
I'll go 95 then, percent. Cool. What got you to such high confidence?
I experienced it.
Okay, you experienced enlightenment?
So in a sense of like, I wouldn't say, oh, I'm enlightened, you know.
Yeah.
That's stupid. But like during the pandemic, I was doing constant meditation, very like, and how we say this is through, we call it sadhana, which is spiritual practice, right? And through sadhana and through you become enlightened through two ways. You through sadhana, through spiritual practice, and then through spiritual knowledge. So being taught the intellectual side and then doing the practice itself to reach a point, right? So it's a constant reframing of your karmic, and by karma I mean action, not this big woo-woo shit. Karma just means your conditioning and, you know, how you think about things. And so I would say that through constant meditation and through constant realization and through constant spiritual practice, you can over time definitely become enlightened. And what I would consider enlightenment is when you reach a point where you're in absolute oneness with the universe, when your ego has been completely dissolved for a certain period of time. You know what I'm saying? So this time frame, like, I don't think we're always constantly enlightened. I think enlightenment would be the point of like, my ego is 100% dissolved. And I've definitely reached that point a couple times, I would say.
Okay, cool. Experiencing enlightenment is what got you to such high confidence, which is when you reach a point where you are one with the universe. Yeah. Can you experience? Well, I'm 32. I've lived many paths in life, and I have some paths where I've been around people who have experimented with psychedelic drugs, and they say that they experience something similar. Would you say that they are experiencing? They call it ego death. I
would say that. Okay, so this is the thing with sadhana and spiritual drugs. This is very good. That's a very good question. Sadhana is done in many ways. And so you'll see in something like Tantra, where there's a lot of misconceptions around Tantra. That's all just sex. But we can use the sex analogy for something, right? Yeah. So you can theoretically be enlightened by having such a big orgasm that your ego is gone and that you're completely in oneness with the universe. Okay. Right? You can have such a huge experience through your drug or through your meditation or through something that you're just in complete, absolute oneness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
I'd like to imagine I've had orgasms that great that, but I'm just joking. Just making a joke.
Yeah, no, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you can practice that to the point where you have complete enlightenment. So yeah, I would say that maybe for a second, or two, that they had some huge realization. But I would think if they weren't reading spiritual things or spiritual knowledge and understanding things on a higher level, then I think that they just had an experience and then they live the rest of their lives the same way. Because the experience itself, you should learn something from that experience. So you know what I'm saying? And then become more spiritual through that time.
So would you say that you can or you can't be enlightened purely from a drug experience?
No, probably not. Okay. I think unless your ego completely dissolves, then you've reached a point of enlightenment where you're in complete oneness. But I think there's a serious difference than being deluded on a drug and thinking you're enlightened than actually being enlightened.
Could someone experience what it's like to be enlightened without being enlightened on a drug?
What it's like to be enlightened without being enlightened,
like ego death or something.
I would call it samadhi. So samadhi, I would introduce, from my understanding of samadhi, it's just a point of like blissness. So this is, here's a great, okay, perfect. So I would say you can reach a point of meditation where you're in bliss and things are easier to comprehend. So the reason why people meditate before reading things spiritually is because they can put themselves in a mindset that is blissful and open to learning. And we call that samadhi, right? A state of ultimate bliss. I would say it's different than enlightenment. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And enlightenment, because bliss is within duality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm non-dual. Like blissness is something that you relate to.
So duality is mind body, right? Is that what you're saying? And
it's emotion.
A non-duality means that you believe it's all the same. Is that right? Or you believe
non-duality is just everything is what it is.
Okay, I think
you know
I understand.
Duality is going, I like this one. This one makes me feel bliss. I don't like this one.
Yeah.
This one makes me feel bad. So you can reach a point, right, where you're in ultimate depression, right, and you just can't accept anything at all, and you're a horrible person, et cetera, right? But you can also reach a point mentally where you're a beautiful person and you're blissful and you're amazing to be around. Now, here's the fucking pill, right? This is both duality. You need to do this, and then you become one with everything.
Is that similar to Taoism, where they have the yin and the yang?
All the Eastern faiths are quite similar. Yeah,
okay.
They all kind of correspond together. Yeah,
that's really interesting.
You will actually.
Sorry, go.
I said. Last thing, you will actually see that the smartest people, the smartest spiritual people, actually take things from multiple religions within an Eastern context. So you will find. Like, notice I said, I'm also a Buddhist. I'm also a Hindu. I'm also this. I'm also that. Because they take from each other. You know what I mean? You'll find a Hindu, Buddhist, Taoist, Shintoist, except, well, maybe not a Shintoist, but like, et cetera, et cetera. You see what I mean? Like,
so do you subscribe to, I don't know what it's called, but it's like the blind man and the elephant, where they're all blind people touching an elephant. They're all describing it differently. Okay, cool. Yeah. Interesting.
Absolutely.
That's interesting. Well, I have one last question, and that is, so experiencing, this has been really entertaining, by the way. I've learned a lot, but experiencing the experience of being enlightened, that is, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's in the realm of subjectivity, right? Like it's based on how you feel, or
so samadhi. I would say it depends on it depends. This is where the distinctions between religions come from. It's because in Hinduism, I would say, because you have a soul in Hinduism and you don't have a soul in Buddhism. And so how you feel about something, oh my God, I just had it now and I'm losing it.
It happens to me all the time.
Your question was subjectivity. Yeah.
Yeah. Is being enlightened, is that a subjective experience or is that objective?
Okay. So no, right. I would say that everything is universal consciousness. That's just a fact. I would say that everything is universal consciousness. And at one point, if I were to take pieces of your brain away and you were still able to be conscious, but not have the capabilities to, to think, you would still be conscious. Even if I took your whole brain away, if I killed your brain, your atoms would still be conscious. I think everything is aware. The rocks are aware. Have people, I'm just curious, maybe you know, but have people ever had their brain taken away and they could still communicate and be aware? Well, communication would be different than being aware and being conscious. So I think awareness is your fixation on something, is what you're fixated on. So right now you're fixated on the words that I'm speaking. That's your awareness. Your consciousness comes before that. Because your consciousness is absolutely pure. Yeah. Okay. So you have purity where there's no judgment, there's no nothing. You don't have any. You can perceive things, but they're just not. You're not judging them, right? Pure perception, and then you have your awareness. So you get to choose what to be conscious about. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then you have your ego. Excuse me, someone's snoring. But then you have your ego, right? Which can. You can choose to be focused on the good and bad, but you can also choose to be focused on something that is not dual. You know what I'm saying? You can choose to be focused on what we call God, which is just universal consciousness. Then you can choose to be focused on the everything that is everything. You know How would you do you know the principle? Because I had this conversation with a friend of mine who's consciousness first. That guy, and he kind of pointed out that, he pointed out all these things, and I found it quite interesting because I couldn't really
kind of debunk it, because anything he says, he just that happens within consciousness. But something that I thought was interesting was is the principle of falsifiability, like the scientific principle. Do you know what that is?
You know, I don't actually. I know what that is. It's the principle where like something is not true based upon its non-falsifiability. It's like backwards. It's such a weird thing to me. I've never understood it. Like,
well, I don't think I understand it very well either. But I think essentially what it is if something can be falsified, really, like in a million different ways.
I'm gonna freeze. Oh no.
Oh, what's?
I'm gonna freeze.
Oh, why? Oh, it's still fine for me. I can still hear you too.
Oh, you can still hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Oh,
you froze for me. Whenever my AirPods die, they freeze. Yeah, I know. I have a Discord if you want to add me on Discord. Yeah, absolutely. Just don't put that in the chat. Like, don't put that in the video, like my name and stuff.
No, I won't.
Donald. Oh, dude, is that your channel?
That'll go to, yeah.
Oh, dude, sick. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, just do me a favor. Yeah, you can post the whole conversation. Just don't post my name and stuff. I'm pretty popular. If people know what I look like, I'll get problems. All right, have a good one, bro. Thank you for that conversation. That was awesome. You made me feel really comfortable, dude.